Maps in Path of Exile are quite literally the key to the world. They represent effectively the dungeon key to get into the endgame encounters, the vast majority of the endgame encounters of what we want to do in the game to farm our currency and get our gear. And what you see on the screen right now is the results of me playing with some strategies for farming both tier 17 and tier 16 maps. Tier 17 maps are the key to doing the big endgame stuff to farm the craziest loot in the game right now. And tier 16 maps, very specifically 8 mod tier 16 maps that have the highest quant possible, is how you farm for those tier 17 maps. And what I'm going to present to you guys today is a strategy that allows you to do one to feed into the other and vice versa. This is a strategy that was shared to me from community member Genko Initiative when I was on stream a couple weeks ago lamenting about my running out of tier 17 maps. And he was like, hey, I got something for you. As you can see, it was really good. What you see on the left right here is the result of me running 30 tier 16 8 mod maps. You can see I got more than 30 tier 17 maps from that, as well as a lot of other things. This is from 30 maps. And then what you see on the right side here in my inventory is the result of me running 1 tier 17 map. This is how many tier 16 8 mod maps dropped from 1 map. At current time of recording, and of course the prices may vary based on what league you're in and how that all shakes out. We don't know what this is going to look like next league, but currently the tier 17 maps sell in bulk for about 1 divine per. Depending on which one that you're getting, some of them are more valuable, some are less. Fortress and Ziggurat are currently the 2 most valuable, and then the other ones are a little bit less valuable, so you're not going to get as much for them. If you farm these in bulk, you can get about 1 divine per, and it's just really, really good returns. I'm getting about a divine or more profit per map that I'm running, and I'm running these maps very, very quickly as I can. I do have a couple strategies for you guys right here. I'll have the links below if you want the layout for the strategies. The idea here, this is how you farm 4 tier 17 maps, is a back to basics strategy where it really simplifies what we have to do for our maps. We can't get master missions, we can't get ritual altars, nothing. No additional content. The idea is that we want the juiciest, highest quantity maps that we can run, and then back to basics is going to have a random 0 to 80% more multiplier on all of those modifiers, making it even juicier. So you can end up with 250, 300% plus quantity on your maps, which is a multiplier on the number of maps that drops. And then what we're doing is we're taking all of the bonus map content. So we want Conqueror maps, we want Shaper Elder maps, we want Synth maps. I mean, synth maps aren't worth very much, but may as well take the nodes while you're there. And then we take all of the increased effect of map modifier nodes that we can. And then we're taking all the quantity, rarity, as well as increased effect of map modifiers just to make it as juicy as possible, get as much quantity as we can. And then we'll just have the juiciest maps that all we have to do is put it in, run around in a circle, clear the monsters, pick up the maps, and get out of there. We don't worry about any additional content. We are just focused on farming maps. And just as a caveat for next league, if you watch this video then, the one change that you would make, I kind of am anticipating a little bit of a nerf to back to basics. If back to basics is nerfed, what you would do is either go into blue or red altars and just use those to juice your quantity instead. But currently, back to basics is just the best way to get more quant on your maps, get more generic drops, and that's what we're using right now. The idea here with the Scarabs is we're using the Scarab of Pandemonium, which can replace a pack of monsters with a random Atlas boss, and then we also have a Cartography Scarab of Singularity for a unique map dropping from the final map boss. That will apply to the map bosses that spawn from the packs, so just generically, the more maps that drop, the more tier 17s that drop, and that's how we get as many as possible. The 2 other maps right here are just Scarabs of Duplication. This gives us a combined 60% chance for any maps that drop to be duplicated. So a lot of those tier 17s that drop will also just drop duped, and you get a lot more of that. And then that's the general idea. I ran it in Toxic Sewers. The idea here is you want to run the juiciest map that you can, the highest quantity density of monsters, the quickest map that you can as well, because you want to just get in and out really, really quickly, and you want it to drop a map that is worthwhile. So like I said earlier, the 2 maps that are worth the most right now are Fortress and Ziggurat. And then you can look at the list of maps right here. Which T17 drops is determined directly by the map that you run. So I ran Toxic Sewer. So you can go down here and you can see that Toxic Sewer drops from Ziggurat. Another map that people are doing is Dunes. They're doing that to drop Fortresses. I ran a couple Dunes. The results were okay. If you have a bow build, something that can clear really, really quickly, it's okay, but I found the monster density on Dunes pretty low personally, and I didn't really enjoy running it. People really want these specific maps because the fragments that they drop are the ones that are worth more currency. Which Uber fragments you get are actually determined also by the tier 17 that you run. Specifically, Ziggurat, in my opinion, is actually better than Fortress. Fortress is easier to run. It's also very good for the barrel strategy, which is a very common one to do right now. And it has a very, very easy boss. The really nice thing about the Ziggurat boss is it drops both Eater of Worlds and Uber Maven fragments. And these are the ones that are worth the most right now. And that's why it's particularly valuable, in my opinion, especially if you are going to be running them yourself or for people that are a little bit more discerning for buying them in bulk. And then on the flip side, for farming all of those big 8 mob tier 16 maps that you use to farm the tier 17s, all you have to do in the strategy is add singular focus. Unspec like one little point, like I would do this one in the corner, unspec this guy, add singular focus, and then you want to favorite the one map that you want to run. I did all toxic sewers down the line. With singular focus, this guarantees that every single map that drops is going to be the map that you're looking for. You do not want to use singular focus when you're farming 4 tier 17s. So make sure you don't make that mistake, because it makes a lot of these other maps that you're looking to farm, right? You can't favorite a lot of these guys. You can't favorite these guys, right? Going to dramatically reduce the number of tier 17s that you drop. So do not run singular focus if you're farming 4 tier 17s. But then all you have to do is add singular focus in to change your atlas for farming those tier 16s. And then what you want to run for Scarabs is 2 cartography Scarabs. This gives you just 100% increased maps found in area. This guarantees that every non-corrupted map will drop with 8 modifiers. That's how you just guarantee those 8 mods. And then a Cartography Scarab of Duplication, 30% more maps. You know, why not? And that's it. It's a back to basics farm. All you have to do is add in singular focus. This is a different tree, so I'm going to link you guys just this tree with a little bit of extra text saying change your Scarabs and change to singular focus. Because the tree, honestly, you don't have to change anything. Keep the same tree, unspec one little point, add singular focus, do a T17, get a absolute buttload of tier 16 maps, and then unspec singular focus, go back to your T16s and farm a bunch of tier 17s. Oh, another thing that I do want to call out for the tier 17s is you want to look for more maps. So right here, very, very important. The bigger this number is, the better. More maps. This can get to over 200% more maps. And in fact, let me identify a couple of these and see if we can get a really big one just to show you. The way I got this many tier 16s, 8 mod tier 16s, was a more maps setup right here. Let's find a really big one. 50%. There's a 100% right there. You can see the currency hit 210% right here, 50. So some of these multipliers, they get really high with the right mods. Now, with that said, you can just run a tier 16 map. You don't have to do a tier 17 map to farm for the 8 mod maps, but because so many drop because of that more multiplier, it is pretty cool with how many of them drop, but it's not mandatory whatsoever. All right, and just to show you a real quick example of how you can do one of these tier 16 8 mod maps, make sure that your strategy is set up so you don't have singular focus. Then we are running 2 duplications. We have 1 pandemonium, 1 singularity. You don't have to worry about anything here. Just make sure you have your back to basics selected. We ignore all that type of stuff because we're never going to get divine conversion. Rip in peace. I don't think I'm going to get it this entire league. So the thing to note about running these maps is very important is try to go fast. You will be running across a lot of very scary monsters because, remember, we are replacing a lot of the packs of monsters. Well, this is perfect. As you can see, we just made over 2 divines right there. You're going to replace it. Holy cow, what the heck is this map? Okay. How did this roll? Yeah, not good enough. Anyway, you're going to be replacing lots of packs of monsters with map bosses. And that's where the map drops come from, is map bosses will be dropping additional unique maps, so we have additional chance to duplicate all that type of stuff, and they have all the additional chance to drop the conquer maps and all that. And so, because we're in these 8 mod maps that are juiced to the gills, we're going to be running really hard maps. And make sure you got a build that's ready to go. This is not a league start, casual farm type of thing. It's definitely when you have a build that is solid and very comfortable doing this, then you are then you can kind of go off to the races and start bulk farming for tier 17 maps. You will be getting, so the big thing, like as you can see, we're getting guaranteed unique maps from all of the map bosses, and that is something that is also giving us the chance for additional tier 17s. All right, we're actually already almost done with the map. That's the thing. I really, really like Toxic Sewer right here. It's just so easy to do. Also, just because you're running against these really juiced map bosses, they just drop tons of uniques as well. I've gotten a good number of pretty solid uniques from them. in a league where uniques aren't really worth anything. Okay. Well, there we go. So we've already made 4 divines in this one map. I think that's a pretty good demonstration. This is, now granted, I want to make it clear, this is above average. I was averaging about 1.2, 1.3 tier 17s. I ran 30 of them, so I was averaging like 1.2, 1.3 myself personally. But this is what can happen on the outside if you get lucky. The immutable force is very, very lucky. If you're going as fast as possible, you can run your maps in about 2 minutes or so. Now, the investment does cost a little bit. The Pandemonium currently is 17 chaos per. The other ones are very, very cheap. 3 chaos per, and then this one is 1 chaos per. So total investment's like 23 to 25 chaos per map, but then you're looking at, on average, over a divine drop per map. And then you're also getting all of these other types of maps. Also, you're running these very, very juicy maps that are going to have good drops regardless. Like, this is 389% quantity. So just your average loot that you're getting is going to be much more than your regular maps as well. Like, Back to Basics is just that powerful. Like I said earlier, I think there's a moderate chance, a pretty good chance, that it probably gets rethought about and nerfed because it is so strong next league. And if that is the case, and you watch this video in the future, I do recommend taking ideally blue altars, but you can also go for red altars. Just do that, juice your quantity on your maps, and that is where all of the drops come from. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. I just thought this was a really fun farm that had really solid returns, particularly this league and this part of this league. It's really important to have a farm that is easily liquid. Farming for things that people actually want to buy that you can sell instead of things that are, when you're in a dead economy that aren't really going to move. So this strategy I found very successful and really easy to move things. Bulk selling on TFT, PoE exchange, any of that type of stuff. Really, really easy to just make it move and realize those profits. And thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to go get ready for the stream, and I'll see y'all soon. Goodbye.